Actually, all of a sudden we were on the air. I was looking at my phone trying to log into the website so that I could follow the chat if anybody was on and giving us lewd comments. But yeah, I was surprised that all of a sudden there you were.
Yep, there we are. Yep. So we're back, episode number 101. We've been out of town for a little while, but it's nice to have everybody back together. As we were saying, the system here was not exactly I didn't realize it, but after the computer had failed, which the relic, the skeletons are over there, right there off to the corner. It probably still smells like matchsticks in the back. Nothing for final round had been rebuilt, so we didn't have any of our players. All of our recordings are gone. All of the videos and stuff were gone. So when I was trying to put everything back together, I was actually talking with Melissa, trying to get everything that we had. Remember, we did the remote episodes in 2019?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get that folder loaded back up to my Google Drive so that we could have something on the screen and get everything rebuilt. And, we had a hiccup there just as we started the show. The audio stuff wasn't configured the way that it needed to be. But nonetheless, we're back in 101.
Yeah, honestly, I assumed when you told me you were having some issues that they were like, yeah, these guys aren't ever coming back. Well, let's just purge all this stuff off the system because Jason, yeah, he's dead to us.
But you've got a new job since the last time we spoke.
Well, I think since the last time I was on the air, I think I'm trying to remember back when episode 100 was Fred Hahn, which seems like a million years ago.
Right.
I think, and I don't remember for sure, but I think I was at Mitsubishi or had just gone to Mitsubishi at that point in time. But yeah, it was funny because as I was driving out here, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, Chris is going to ask me what's new, and it's like, well, it's been such a long period of time. Normally it's like, not much. It's like, well, what's new now? I mean, yeah, aside from a new job, traveling all over the place, both my kids are in college now. Put my dog down last week. New trailer on order. Old smashed up trailer is down the road, thankfully. Yeah, so a lot has been up. Racing season, incredibly, is almost over, unfortunately. I was trading messages with Nora Gregory on the way out here. She was wondering, so we pit right next to them at Empire, and she was wondering if we were coming out and if she had to kind of protect our pit spot just to make sure no one would park in it. It is reserved parking at Empire, but that still doesn't, when people are looking for spots, they don't know where they can park and where they can't. So the Gregory's are always really nice about reserving our spot for us and shooing people away that might try to pit there. But yeah, I was just talking to her. It's like, my pool is getting cold. It's getting chilly at night, right? So even though it's going to be 90 degrees on Saturday, my pool, I think, is down to like 72 degrees. I know tonight it's supposed to get down to like 52 outside. This is not, it's Labor Day, right? It's kind of a bummer. This is sort of the end of summer.
That was a conversation that we were having around our house. Melissa's already back to school. I'm going back on Tuesday. We've got our emails with all of our all our required annual trainings for, DASA sheets and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so we had to do all those last couple of days. The kids go back Thursday. And I mean, it's over. And we actually we almost acted like grown-ups last weekend.
Almost.
We noticed that, the weather's really nice, and it's always usually pretty busy when we go back to school.
Yep.
And I'm going to be out of town next weekend. And this weekend's Alan's birthday. He turns 13 Saturday, and so we won't be busy. We'll be wrapped up with everything then. Why don't we get the pool taken down? It was a nice day.
Oh, yeah.
So the pool's already down, which our dog Cody, which I don't think you've actually.
I have not met Cody.
Well, guess what? He's not a puppy anymore. But he's helping us by excavating where the pool used to be.
Oh, nice.
It's real helpful.
Yeah. It'll be really good when it's rainy.
Like the last 2 days.
Right, yeah, exactly.
and you haven't seen our house is now beachfront property.
Oh, no, I did not see that.
No. We had clay pipe installed in the 20s. Not 2020s, like 1920s.
Yeah.
And it broke off. And when they did the jetters last summer, the back pressure knocked the caps off of all of the pipes, and it hit the saddle, the elbow where it hits the main
Yeah.
in the street,
Yeah.
it blew it off. OFF blew it off. So we had to get a special variance to dig halfway into the street from
Oh,
the
my
front of our
God.
house through the front yard all the way out. And the hole was like 12 feet down. It was cool.
I'm assuming did the town do that?
No, that's our responsibility.
Lucky you.
One of us is defining lucky wrong.
I would say you had a pile of cash laying around you didn't know what to do with and said, yeah, you know what? I'd like to dig a nice long trench all the way to the street. That sounds fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely not my idea of, well, I mean, I just spent a boatload of money on a new trailer that I really didn't want to buy, so.
But the good news is in the wintertime, you can push the car out of the trailer and use that to transport your snowmobiles.
I can, yes. I will not. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because it was a long time ago, but a friend of mine, John McGowan, he had sleds, and we used his race trailer one winter to put sleds in it with, fully studded tracks.
Once.
Well, after the first time, at that point, he didn't really care much because it's like, well, the floor's wrecked now, so I guess I don't really care anymore. So, yeah, it's not something that I would generally recommend doing with your trailer if you want to keep it nice. But anyways, so yeah, so it's been a while, a lot of stuff going on. Here we are, like I said, at the end of the racing season. Empire has been cruising along. My racing season, Corvette's been in the garage all season, just been racing Phil's car, bracket racing, struggling.
How do those new add-ons work?
For
Well, I guess all that stuff that you were doing in terms of the upgrades with the pipes and with the front end configuration, and then with the I think you were talking about going over to a different intake setup too at one point.
I was thinking about it, so I didn't do that. I mean, I switched to methanol last year, but yeah, never did anything else aside from that. Then I did buy a bunch of parts over the winter, and they are sitting in boxes in the garage, looking at me saying, Jason, please put me on the car. But I've been so busy with work and with racing Phil's car that, we took the throttle stop off of Phil's. Well, is that true? Did we take the throttle stop? Yeah, we took the throttle stop. Actually, no, that's not true. So Phil's car has an inline stop. Mine has
Make it up as you go.
Yeah. Mine has the under the carb stop, so I took the throttle stop off of mine. But with Phil's, we just opened his up all the way, so it's still on his car. But he did buy a new carburetor for his car this season, and overall, it's worked pretty well. It's been it's like I said, the car itself really hasn't been the problem. Over the last 3 or 4 races, I've improved. It's amazing just because of the fact that there's not much difference really when you think about it as far as what the driver is doing, but it's just a slightly different overall procedure that you're using when you're staging on the full tree compared to the pro tree. And it's taken me a little bit to get consistent. And let me guess, Jeff Jackson is making fun of me.
Yes. Did you shorten the coil wire 4 feet?
Yes, the coil wire is still nice and long, coiled up, going to the bulkhead, which Jeff doesn't like, but the car's working, and so I'm not touching it at this point.
Right.
And like I said, we had talked about going out for this weekend, but honestly, it's going to be 90 degrees, and Phil's like, nope, too hot, don't want to. So we're not even going this weekend just because of that. We're fair weather racers for sure at this point.
Isn't everyone a fair weather racer? I mean, drag cars don't necessarily run in the rain.
Yeah, but I mean, you obviously have the guys that, if it's 75% chance of rain, we don't care. We're going out to the track because there still means a 25% chance it's not going to rain.
Right.
It's 50, don't care, I'm going out. It's 100, don't care, I'm going out. Yeah, when you get to be in your mid 50s, you're like, I'm gonna sit on the couch under my nice warm blankie and have a cocktail instead, right? So, but it's overall, I'm looking forward to next year obviously I'll have the new trailer at this point, and that should be delivered in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping. Then from there, we'll have Phil's car and my car, and we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, there's still some racing to go overall. I think Empire's wrapping up their points chases. I can't say, unfortunately, kind of who's at the top, but one of the things that has happened is Kirk Parry, who's on the line here, he's been kind of in my ear all summer about, hey, I want to do a pro tree race. I want to do a pro tree race. So Kirk is putting together a pro tree race for next weekend, or I should say, has put together a pro tree race for next weekend. I don't know much about the details, but that's why we have Kirk coming on the show.
So how are you, Kirk, man? We're looking for some more details on this race. It sounds like it's going to be quite the show.
It's actually going to be the September 17th.
Okay.
It's a couple weeks.
September 17th.
It's going to be a hot rod race at Empire, 8 mile, 5/10 pro tree. Got to make sure that everybody knows the track opens up at 9 o'clock. They're going to be in their fall session.
So what was that last excuse me, what was that last part, Kirk?
Jerry wanted me to let everybody know that the track is going to be open at 9 o'clock. It's going to be the fall session now.
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
So when people showing up at noon and we're already racing.
Yeah, and I noticed this coming weekend, I know on Saturday they're opening at 9, so I'm guessing they must go to the fall schedule starting this weekend, right?
Right. I think this weekend's are 8 mile nationals.
Right. Yeah, for me, which personally for me, I really do prefer the early schedule. I like being able to get there and get out of there before 2 o'clock in the morning and be able to leave and go grab a bite to eat at a reasonable restaurant. So for me, I like the early schedule. So I'm glad to hear that it will be at 9 a.m. Well, 9 a.m. gates open. I'm guessing time trials will probably start at 10:30 like they are this weekend, right?
Yeah, not sure, not positive, but I'm hoping so.
And so, I mean, some of the details that I hadn't heard until just now. So definitely 8th mile. I knew you were leaning towards the hot rod race rather than a super rod race. So 7.0 index 8th mile instead of quarter mile.
Correct. We probably could have done quarter mile because we're running stock and super stock that weekend too, but we're going to get a better turnout, I think, with 8 mile racers because there's just so much 8 mile racing going on around here right now.
Right, right. And yeah, and I think that's the right thing to do, quite frankly, is to run 8th mile. And I mean, it's nice to hear too. I think the right choice was to go with the 7.0 index rather than the 640 index because the 7.0 index is going to give you the ability to attract, I think, more cars than if you ran the super ride with a 640 index. So
right. Yeah, you know, you could get a 640 car to run 7 seconds, but it's hard to push a car to run 7 seconds to run 640. So
right.
We need to turn out, and that's what we're after.
Yeah, and 5/10 pro tree. That's again, I think that's the right decision too. Just because you're going to have guys that are going to have a hard time getting a light on the 4/10 pro tree. So getting more guys out there is good. I know you've done a whole bunch of work trying to line up sponsors for the race. Can you give us a little bit of idea with regards to, I guess, who from a sponsor standpoint is involved and what the payout is going to look like?
Sure. I mean, Jason, you know how it is getting sponsors, and it's actually worked out pretty easy. I just made a few phone calls, and people stepped up to the plate with no problem. Right now, we got 15 sponsors, and they all put in $100. Pete Maduri works for Dynabrade. He donated a 90-degree die grinder. I think that's a $150 value. I think I'm going to use that for number 1 qualifier. If we have 19 cars, it should be about $1,000 to win, 600 per second, 400 and 200. And it depends on the cars we get. I'm going to use that same formula. You know, if it's more money or less money, I'm going to use that same formula for the payout. And one thing I'm going to add in too, I think, is whoever's got the best package in eliminations gets $100.
Nice.
So I mean, that nobody's ever done that. I go, that'd be kind of neat, you know, because you see some of these guys running 2,000-3,000 packages, and let's see, let's push them. But I'll give you some of the sponsors I got a hold of. I got to mention these guys because, you know, without the sponsors, we're not going nowhere.
Agreed.
I got a short list if you hold with me for a minute. Tin Pan Alley from Lewiston. It's a friend of mine, Bill Castiglione's restaurant. Sparkling Sign Design. Lori's got a business in Niagara County. Ron Helene from Helene's Auto. Mike Callen from 24 Hour Tire. Steve Mays from Steve's Auto, Niagara Falls. Now, he's got a super gas car. He used to race with your dad, Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Just talked to him today. He's probably going to be firing up today or tomorrow or Saturday. So he'll be ready.
Excellent.
Joe's Transmission. We all know Joe. Bob
Yep.
Farrell from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Bob Gutierre from Data Clutch. Steve Zappi from Motor Clinic in Ransomville, New York. He does all my machine work. Mike Janis. Everybody knows Mike Janis. He stepped up, too, from Jansen Motorsport. Pete Maduri. Gary from Candace Auto Stores, my buddy John Perimba, Tom Coonley, and Larry Pulver all donated $100, like I say, and Pete Maduri donated the tool.
That's excellent, Kirk. I mean, you did a really nice job, raising some money for the race.
Yeah, you know, it's not life-changing money, but it should make it interesting.
Well, I mean, we obviously are doing this because we love to do it. We're not doing it for the money, but yeah, overall, to attract people to come out and give it a try. I mean, we definitely have to have a reasonable payout, but you're definitely going to have that for sure. Now,
Yeah.
what about the entry fee? What's the entry going to be for the race?
It's $100.
Okay, so $100 to you, let's call it, or to the race. Then there's going to be a gate fee on top of that. I'm assuming Empire's gate fee.
Right. Empire charges $60 gate fee for one of their special events, which were a special event like Super Gas, the Empire Hot Rods. They all pay $60 gate fee.
Yep. And I know I had this question asked of me as well. This is a Saturday only race, correct?
Correct. Stock and Super Stock are going to be there Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
But we're just racing on Saturday.
Okay. I guess
And
that's
in fact, I'm going to be there Friday for testing. I got so much information on the car. I'm not worried about the car, but the driver's got to get back in the saddle again.
well, yeah. I was to say I haven't pro tree raced now in over a year, so just like you, I'm going to have the same issue. I'm glad, honestly. Were you thinking initially of having the race on September 10th?
I was looking at a couple days, Labor Day and the 17th. But with the travel expenses right now, the fuel's coming down, but it's still kind of stupid. Might as well just pack it all into one day and get it done and put all the money out there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, especially at this point of the year, the weather really starts to get iffy. So if you run into some type of weather situation on the 17th, we can always pick a rain date and still probably get it in before the end of the season, right?
That's right.
So yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. So yeah, like you, I'm going to have to go out and go back into the logbook. And actually, I will say I don't have any numbers now for Phil's car because we've changed. He's got a new carburetor on there, so I'm just going to take a guess, I guess, and we'll see where we're at to run 7-0. But I'm glad to hear that the race is on. I'm just going to take a guess, I guess, and I'm not going to be around. So now I'm going to be able to make it on the 17th, which makes me happy.
That's great.
So you got one more in, as long as it's not 90 degrees, because if it's 90 degrees, then Phil will want to stay home.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we were up at London, Ontario a couple of years ago. It was 95 in the shade. Now you get in your car, put your fire suit on, your helmet, sit there and wait.
Yeah, well, I will say that I'm pretty sure for a pro tree race, it won't be as difficult to get Phil off of the couch because that's what he loves to do. So with the pro tree race, I'm pretty sure even if it's 95 in the shade, Phil will be up for coming out. So that's great news. Have you had anybody, I guess, other than Jason Oldfield commit to being there for sure?
Well, Steve McCormick and Larry Pulver from up the other side of Rochester coming down.
Yep.
Myself, you, actually Dave Shumashinsky is getting his car back together. He might make it.
They
Chris
said
Van Palen says he's interested. Ted Barnes said he was interested.
you said Steve Mays
Um,
potentially.
uh, Vince Gregory.
Yep.
You know, some of the names slipping right now, but we got a few people interested in it.
Well, we'll definitely get the word out. I mean, obviously, we had some technical difficulties with the show this afternoon, but we'll
guess-
make sure that we get the show kind of out on the internet there to the various drag racing sites on Facebook where people would expect to see it, and we'll spread the word so that
I guess you can't go into hiding for 6 months and then and then just expect
yeah,
everything to work, right?
right. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things, from a salesperson standpoint, right? You never, it's never a good idea to pull your demos out of your bag when you haven't touched them in 6 months and just expect that everything's going to work. You should do the dry run beforehand. So I guess we can take take responsibility for that. But
I happen to see there's a notebook that's right over there.
Yeah.
And it tells the weekly schedule. And it was a couple Mondays ago, where we were on our way out and we were looking at the schedule, and it had the next episode of Crash Course was booked,
oh yeah,
and it said on Thursday, parentheses, inactive.
oh boo.
And when I saw that, I'm like, man, you know what? We should probably make sure that all of our stuff's still in there, so
Uh-huh.
that if we ever do get a chance to come
Right.
back in, we'd have our stuff. And I took it out that door and didn't do anything else with that information. So Melissa came in with a save and pulled all the remote stuff into a Google Drive at home, and I don't know what we ever did without Google. Life
Or-
must have been a different time.
Well, yeah, I was to say, or for that type of stuff, OneDrive or whatever, right?
Dropbox is still on this.
There you go, Dropbox. Yep, yeah. I haven't used my Dropbox account in quite a while, but yeah, that was the first of the file sharing ones for sure that worked great.
I think I was doing file sharing before file sharing was cool, because I knew if I needed to work on something at school, but I wasn't going to be able to bring my laptop,
Yeah,
I would just put it in an unformatted notepad document and email it to myself.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there was that. There was also some file sharing like websites that allowed you to like upload the file to the website, and then it would like send you a link, so then you could get to where you, because I mean, especially if you talked about, I mean, again, back in the old days when email had attachment limitations, so it's like you wanted to email yourself something big, you couldn't. So I'm trying to remember what the heck the name of those sites are, but I'm sure they're all out of business at this point.
Or Facebook owns them.
Right. But, wow, we're up and running, and like I said, we'll get the show shared here. So, all right. Well, I'm glad we were able to cover the race. I mean, that was kind of first and foremost, Kirk. So, from that standpoint, how? Oh wait,
Yeah, actually, we've got a very busy chat room here with Jeff Jackson sending us questions and comments. He used to use paper at school.
yeah. I mean, and I've heard that chalkboards, they don't have those anymore.
There's one right there.
It's been painted over.
But also the bracket finals are that same weekend, the 17th.
The IHRA bracket finals are the 17th.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So.
Yeah, they got the bracket finals that same weekend.
So you got some options if you want something.
Yeah, I will say that, there I'm sure will be, this is the type of thing where when we had the Western Super Rod Association, that we never really ran into any conflicts from that standpoint.
Right.
You had the people that if they didn't pro tree race, they generally weren't going to pro tree race, and that's just the way it was. So the people that were going to the bracket finals, it really doesn't make a difference if you have a pro tree race on the same weekend. Yeah, one of the nice things, I guess, overall is the fact that if it's the weekend of the bracket finals, then the track will probably be pretty light as far as other car counts, right, Kirk?
It should be, yeah. People that are going to throttle stop race are going to be there. And that's one thing about the throttle stop, why we're getting to run this too, is like you were talking about Phil taking his throttle stop off his car. Once people take the throttle stop off their car, they might not put it back on.
That's right.
There you go. It's gone forever.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's hopefully going to keep it alive a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I don't think the bracket finals will hurt the car count at all. Like I said, the guys that want a pro tree race, they'll be there for sure. And overall, like I said, I'm totally okay with it being the same weekend because I wasn't going to the bracket finals, and less cars at Empire means we'll finish up sooner. So I'm
Yep.
okay with that.
especially
Yep.
if it's too hot.
Yeah.
Speaking of options, different races, I went to Ransomville last week. First time I've been to Ransomville, and I can't tell you when. And boy, they put on a pretty good show down there.
Was that for the Super Dirt Car Series race, or was it
Super,
just?
yeah, Super Dirt Car Series. And
Yeah, it took a couple.
I haven't been there. Well, Chris knows that place probably. I haven't been there since they had a gate, that what they call the Gator Ditch in there. Last time I was there,
Right. Yep.
and it was funny unless you're sitting down in the front and there was water in the ditch and cars went in the ditch.
Right. They had this big moat around the outside of the track. You know, typically a racetrack has the wall
Yeah.
next to the track.
Yeah.
Well, there was this big. It's a ditch.
Probably
It
4 or
was a
5
moat.
foot ditch.
And right along the front stretch. So you'd see a car come off of turn 4, and it would just disappear. It would go down that moat. And I was working for World of Outlaws at the time, and the late model series had a race there, and they were trying to make comparisons, but it really wasn't like anything else. It really isn't like any place I'd ever been.
Right.
And they were trying to figure it out. Well, sure enough, a couple of those guys figured out if you ran right at the very edge of that, you could get grip and you could have the car cranked over on the right rear off of 4 all the way down the front stretch and all the way into 1
Okay.
until you couldn't.
Yep,
It was
yep.
good till it wasn't.
Yeah.
And there was a couple times where all of a sudden just whoop,
Goodbye.
disappeared, gone, and then they, all of a sudden all this dust and everything, and they'd come monster trucking it back over the apex of turns 1 and 2. That was the Summer Nationals. That race is a really, really big deal.
The one
out
that
there.
the one that Kirk went to.
Yeah, and
Yeah, they paid $7,500 to win. Guy from St. Catharines, it was number 88, I think Williams or
Matt Williamson.
Williamson or something.
Matt Williamson. Yep.
Yeah, he
Uh,
walked away from everybody.
Yep. His dad is Randy, who worked with Pete Bicknell over at Bicknell Racing
Okay,
Products
yeah.
forever. And Matt won the Super Dirt Car Series championship last year, and it just didn't come together. He's leading 358 points at this point, but nothing really came together for him. So Matt ended up getting this reputation of he shows up for the big money stuff. He won Super Dirt Week last year.
Okay.
And you know he really cleaned house at the big purse events.
Yep.
So there's a 25,000 to win race this weekend, Saturday at Lebanon Valley, and that's a tour race. So
Wow.
I trust he'll probably be there. He took the Centennial race at Ontario, or excuse me, at Orange County Fair Speedway. I think that was like 100,000. So there was a stretch where he won the Battle of the Midway and the Centennial race at Orange County. Those 2 races alone were 150,000.
Now, I thought I saw last weekend that somebody on, I don't know, Instagram or Facebook or something posted that they were at the New York State Fairgrounds for Super Dirt Week. Were they doing anything out there?
No, they were at the New York State Fairgrounds for the state fair, but there's no races up there.
I didn't think so.
They dug the track up, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a parking lot now. Everything's gone.
Yeah.
But Super Dirt Week still happens. That happens at Oswego, but it's not this week. That culminates. It's the 50th running of Super Dirt Week, and that culminates Columbus Day weekend.
Oh, okay. All right. Like I said, I'll have to go back and look at. I'm 99% certain that the person actually posted that they were at the state fair for Super Dirt Week, and I was like, huh. I mean, what made me take note was the fact that I was like, geez, this isn't somebody that I would expect to go to Super Dirt Week. But
What made you take note was their utter disappointment when they got there.
and there was nothing there. Yeah, yeah, maybe. Well, so anyway, so Ransomville put on a good show.
Yep. But that's actually where I got my racing addiction from. Is a good friend of mine years ago, a family friend of mine, Jerry Hanson. We used to follow him, Maryville, Ransomville, Maryville, and Hummerstone, and that's where I got my racing addiction from. And he introduced me to somebody that Chris might be familiar with, was Chucky Booz. He ended up being a lifelong friend, and he was one of the best racers around Western New York at that time.
That name sounds familiar to me.
There's
He was
Bull
around the same time as who's the guy from Rome, New York?
Richie Evans.
Richie Evans. Yeah,
Okay.
they were pretty side by side, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right. I would say,
Chuck
yeah.
ended up introduced me to Smokey Unick and Linda Vaughn, two names everybody knows.
Right, right. Yeah, I would say this is totally out of my wheelhouse, but I do still obviously know names like Richie Evans, right? I mean,
That,
anybody that's into racing, I think, generally knows that name, whether you followed the circle track circuits or not. But
Classic weekend is the 66th running of the Budweiser International Classic for the super modifieds is this coming weekend. Friday's pole day, and then they've got the Dave London Memorial is Friday, and then they've got the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Saturday, and then the super modified 350 supers and the small block supers are all running on Sunday.
and where is that?
Oswego.
Oh, that's out of Oswego. Okay.
Yeah. That's at Oswego. Yeah, I mean, getting in the Wayback Machine, Jim Champagne, he owned the super modifieds up there for the
Okay.
longest time, and that was a time when Richie Evans he was winning everything, but they would run. Now there's no crossover really. You don't see asphalt guys running dirt cars and vice versa. But I mean, at that point, they were using the same cars even sometimes.
Right, right.
You know, it was such a different world.
yeah, remember I was at Jerry Hanson's garage, and he just moved the motor back prior to go on asphalt from dirt.
Yeah, I'm assuming this was the same time when guys were, everyone was towing their vehicles to the racetrack on open trailers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right?
There's still
fact-
open trailers, but not like it used to be.
Well, yeah, I will say my guess is that, I mean, the last time I was out there, you certainly had your fair share of stackers out there
yeah.
too. So, yeah, you probably have your occasional open trailer, but I think much more of them are enclosed and a lot of stackers.
A lot of those stackers now have this little thing. It's just a style point between the two wheels. It's just this little drop body mount.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it look more modern. It's an aesthetic feature. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
I would say Chris is making fun of me because yes, that's what my new trailer is going to have on it. I sent him the picture of it, and yeah, it's just to make it look more modern. That's it. But
And you're not going to be towing your snowmobiles in that trailer, are you?
that's not the plan. No, I am going to try
Yeah.
and keep snowmobiles out of my trailer. I have to say, it will still end up being a storage unit, I am sure, for the house.
Just put that.
What, there's going to be a storage unit? Yeah.
You're gonna have a trailer for rent.
It'll still be a storage unit, I'm sure. My patio furniture will be in there for the winter time, and four-wheeler will be in there. But yeah, hopefully in the spring it will be completely emptied and a race car will go live in it. So, anyways,
I learned a few years ago that you don't want to be pulling your trailer through the snow in your motorhome. I did that when I moved from one house to the house I'm in now, and it made a mess of the underside of my motorhome and trailer. And you don't want to do that.
well, yeah, and actually you and I need to talk because I'm hoping we obviously we won't do it on the air, but hopefully you're going to have some space for me at your facility to store my trailer. So I'm going to get it just in time to put it away for the winter, and I hate to tow it home brand new and then just park it out in the snow. It's like that.
I'm going to get the wall-to-wall carpet out for you.
Perfect. That'd be perfect. But so how was your oh, what's that, Chris?
Come back to that trailer thing for a second.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a 2023?
Yes.
So is that going to be able to be registered when you get it, or do you have to wait till January?
I'm assuming it will be registerable. I don't know, honestly. I do know that I can get a temporary plate to bring it home, but yeah, I don't know if I will be able to register it or not, but I'm assuming I can.
My neighbor just got a trailer out of Newcastle,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a 2023. So serial number was like 00011.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And they had trouble getting it on the road because the DMV wasn't recognizing 2023. They had to adjust the date codes. So man, it turned into it was a bit of a, it wasn't impossible, but it wasn't a circus. It was more just an inconvenience, but they ran into some hurdles getting that.
Right, right.
Did you pass Lancaster lately? You been by there?
Yeah, probably a couple of weeks ago.
I saw there was some new signage out in front. Well, new to me. I hadn't been out there, but there was some new neon signage on the back of one of the pit shacks, and
Oh,
made a mental note to ask you about it, but I couldn't remember the name. Now, it's
it
gone.
was it at night that you drove by?
It was, it was during the day.
Oh, I would say because honestly, I don't. I mean, Kirk, do you remember? Do you know what signs are out there?
I didn't notice any signs. I went there about 3 weeks ago just go talk to some friends, and they run the 650 Outlaw Series there, and I want to see if I could run my class at that track, which I can't. But I just went there. I didn't really notice any signage. I just walked around the pits and chatted.
Yeah, I do know. I do know. I did see some pictures online that they had that they were showing some new signage going up, but I thought that was just like the big sign over the tower or something. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Who owns it now?
Mike Swinarski, and I forget
That's
what.
the name. It said Swinarski Auto or something like that on
Oh,
the back of the building behind the starting lanes that faces the thruway.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was the name that was on the back of it.
yeah. So Mike was one of the three partners. It was Vito and Mike and Gary Jason that had leased the track from Gordon Regier, and that was a 3-year lease. And then at the end of the 3-year lease, Mike Swinarski actually went to Gordon Regier and bought the track outright. So this has been the big problem with Lancaster over the course of the last 25 years. The fact that you have a guy that owns it in Regier who had no interest in running a racetrack. He just wanted to be a property owner, basically.
Right.
So he leased it to all these people. Well, if you're leasing the track, you're not going to put any money into it. You don't own it. So
Right.
at that point, you basically make do with the best you can without putting any money into it. And anytime you do want improvements to it, obviously it comes at lease renegotiation time, right? Hey, Gordon, all right, we'll re-up for another 3 years, but in exchange for doing that, you got to agree to pave the drag strip. And okay, yeah, we'll do it. And of course, again, he doesn't care. So what does he do? He hires the cheapest contractor he can find to go out and pave it and say, yeah, hey, I met my end of the bargain. I did it right. Check the box. So yeah, it's been a nightmare. So it's really nice that now Mike, and I don't know his partner's name that went in on it with him, but his partner is a circle track guy. So Mike is basically taking care of the drag racing portion of it, and the circle track guy is taking care of the circle track portion of it. But they actually own the track, which is nice.
I believe the circle track guy owns an asphalt company too.
That's a nice little benefit.
Yep,
Owns a racing organization or a paving company?
A paving company.
paving company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not how I thought it was then.
I would say hopefully they'll maybe take the grader down the track this off season and put some new asphalt down. So yeah, so that's who's running Lancaster now. And interestingly enough, it's kind of a small world. So my aunt, I don't know. I don't know if it's still open. I think it's still open at this point. Owns Riley Street Station in East Aurora, bar restaurant. And and Riley Street Station was an old railroad station that they converted into a bar restaurant. And Gordon Regier took the proceeds from Lancaster and just bought my aunt's bar. And interestingly enough, he's not going to run it as a bar restaurant. He's going to turn it into offices, but it's an old historic building, and that's one of the things he's doing. So yeah, when she told me that she had sold the bar and who she sold it to, I'm like, hey, I know him. So yeah, it's a small world, but yeah, it'll be nice for Lancaster. Hopefully that I want to get out there. Phil and I were actually going to go out and try and go racing there a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember what happened, if it got rained out or what the story was, but I'd like to get out there because my dad was inducted into the Wall of Fame back in January, and now they have all the banners up on the wall. So I'd like to see that before the end of the season. So I need to get out there, if nothing else, just to go watch and see the banners.
Did you
Yeah,
go ahead, Kirk?
yeah, Lancaster got a late start this year because it was late purchase of the property, so they really didn't get a good schedule, as far as show cars going. But we do need to support the local tracks, keep them open. It's more people that show up, the better it is for them, and the better it is for everybody.
That's been one of the things that's hampered Lancaster the last several years, is they just get such a late start by no one's fault necessarily. They just get a late start, and it puts you behind the 8 ball because by the time you get momentum and start going, everybody's already sort of mapped out what they're going to do for the year.
Yeah. This exact same thing happened. I guess it was 4 years ago when Vito and Mike and Gary Jason leased the track because it didn't look like Lancaster was even going to open that year. And then at the last minute, they came in and leased the track. But by that point in time, they didn't get open, I don't think, until mid-June, late June. And yeah, now you're trying to put a schedule together. And so, yeah, this has definitely happened multiple times. Obviously, next year, well, COVID, obviously too, right? That that didn't help things. But hopefully next year we won't have any pandemics. We'll have new owners who will own the track for a full season. They'll be able to spend a complete off-season planning as far as upgrades, schedules, and everything else. And the other nice thing too is that with Mike being a drag racer, him and Jerry have been trying to work together to make it so that they're not stepping on each other's toes when it comes from a schedule standpoint.
And hopefully you get enough glue for the track.
That too. Have you, I don't know, you probably, I don't know, do the circle track or dirt guys, do they use any type of material to prep the track other than water, like for dirt?
For dirt, no. For dirt, they don't put anything in. There was a push a while ago to mix Cindy in. It was synthetic sand, synthetic dirt.
Okay.
So you're gonna have a synthetic dirt surface, but
yeah.
that I don't think that ever really happened. There was some talk that it was gonna help just with surface retention, but it didn't come together. And there's a traction compound. The one that was popular that everybody knew about at like Oswego was PJ1.
Okay.
NASCAR used that on some of their tracks, and by putting the traction compound down, it would encourage better racing. But the stuff that they were using was also tearing up equipment.
Okay.
And it didn't. They've been using some new stuff this year, and I'm blanking on the name, but it works quite a bit better. And it's made for some good racing, but they're not using it at every track either. I think generally you see that put down places where the track tends to become one lane, and by putting the traction compound down, it helps get a second groove going, so it encourages more racing.
Sure.
It's more to the benefit of the racing, more to the benefit of the entertainment element of racing than it is necessarily for the racers.
Sure. Well, obviously,
but it's a different ball game altogether because now we're having these stage races and stuff. It just don't get me started. It's painful.
Well, obviously,
how many stage wins does Dale Earnhardt have? None.
Right.
He raced.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a big. Yeah, I mean NASCAR today is it's different for sure.
My dad does not like the new car. I think the new cars are cool, but my dad's, oh my gosh, he's I didn't realize he had so many opinions until the new cars came out for NASCAR, and then the opinions just didn't stop.
I don't watch many NASCAR races on TV these days. I do still like watching the super speedway races, and I just happened to see that the race got rained out last weekend, so that I got rescheduled for Sunday morning. And I'm like, hey, great, I'm going to tune in and watch. So I sat there as I was drinking my coffee and watched. And I don't remember what lap it was. I'm going to say, I know it was a 400-mile race, right? So they shortened it. So let's call it they were down to 360. They were 360 miles in, so down to 40 miles to go. And they get into turn one, and all of a sudden, everybody wipes out. And at first, the announcers were like, yeah, geez, we think, he must have hit him and got him loose. And I'm like, no, nobody hit nobody. All of a sudden, I'm pretty sure it was raining in quarter one. And then they go back and look, and it was like, oh, God, those poor guys, they were the first ones in the corner. They had no chance, right?
None.
I'm surprised, honestly, that there weren't more people that were really angry about that.
They were on the radios. I mean, that's one of the things that I like about YouTube TV. I can tell it I like to watch NASCAR, and it records the NASCAR race.
Yeah.
So then, when I want to, I can just go to the last 50 laps.
Right. Yeah,
but
exactly.
In this case, I got to fast forward through the 3-hour rain delay.
Right.
But when they went back in, when they're talking about that restart, there's chatter on the track radio saying, "Why are we racing? It's raining."
Right.
And that track's so big, it can be raining in turn one and not at
Right.
any place else.
Right.
And
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, so anyways, one of the things we got a little off on a tangent there, but with drag racing, obviously traction compound is very important unless you're running no prep. And with supply chain issues, come to find out, guess what is in short supply this year? Well, traction compound is. So,
Yeah.
now
Yeah, Chris-
tracks have
Chris might
gone good. What was that,
Chris
Kirk?
might remember back when they had the midget cars at the Niagara Falls Convention Center, the traction compound they used was Pepsi syrup.
yeah, oh yeah. Well,
It was sticky.
so do you remember when we had the RC Derby
Yeah.
the first year that the gassers came out
Yep.
and South Butler Dragway came?
Right. Yeah.
And they wouldn't let us put anything down on the linoleum, so we used Sprite
Oh.
because it was clear.
Uh-huh.
We put the Sprite down with we spritzed so we had some grip on linoleum, and then they're like, "Well, why is half the track black and the other part's clean?" And I have no
I have
idea.
no idea. Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, we might be having to use Pepsi syrup for traction compound. We'll see. But thankfully, Jerry, I know he went out beginning of the season, had the wherewithal, I guess, potentially to say, I'm going to stock up on a whole bunch of traction compound. But at the same point in time, I will say he's had to make some tough decisions at times to say, all right, am I going to run an event this week? Or, hey, you know what? The weather doesn't look so great. Yeah, we're gonna cancel this one just because of the fact that we really need to watch what we have, because otherwise we won't make it to the end of the season. So
Yep. And some things you just can't plan on. We were there a couple weeks ago for the Pro Mod show. It rained out 3 times in the same day, so they had to prep the track 3 times.
right.
So does that stuff have a staying power? Does it run in, so to say, so that it's there? You get a layer of it built up, and then it sort of seasons, or will a rain wash it off?
So you're gonna love this. So the answer is, yeah, it has some staying power. Yes, the rain will wash it off, but it still has staying power until you decide to have JJ DeBoss and the No Prep Arm Drop come out to Empire, and they're running no prep races, and they scrubbed the track with soap like 2 weeks ago. So it was bare, completely bare 2 weeks ago. So then they had to go out and basically rebuild the entire track. Now I will say, we were out last weekend, and you would never know that the track had been basically scraped bare. But yeah, I'm sure it took a little bit more traction compound to get the track back to where it was because of it.
Jeff wants to go back to no prep, make the car work.
Hey, I'm okay with that, honestly. I really am, and I'm sure I've said it on the show before. Granted, my car's a back half car. It's a little bit heavier. I can hook in a sand trap. I'm not running 350s at 220 miles an hour. But yeah, overall, that's one thing I will say about the no prep guys. I love those guys because you're never going to hear them complain about the fact that they couldn't get their car down the track. It's like if they couldn't get it down the track, it's like, yeah, I guessed wrong on the tune.
So
And
Jason, you want to run the throttle stop race and no prep?
sure.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
I mean, you're going to bring. I'll tell you what. You bring that throttle stop on down track, you're going to bring it on very slowly.
Well, that's one thing I've always said about us people who live up north compared to people down south. We know how to drive on icy roads.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, overall, like I said, I would be totally okay with racing no prep. Now, granted, I might still want to try maybe just a slightly different car, just in case I guess wrong. I'm not stuffing my original 63 Corvette that means the world to me into the wall, and I'm just stuffing a bunch of fiberglass that I don't care about. But yeah. But overall, yes, I'm all in for no prep. I like that idea.
Well, I don't know, your 60-foot time might vary 10.
Exactly. So, Kirk, we haven't had a chance. So, I haven't seen much of you out at the track this year. I mean, we haven't been out all that much. How has your racing season been going?
Well, I've been doing that 650 Empire Outlaw Series.
Yep.
And I got it under control. The last time I was at Empire racing at, I was at time trials. I was 005 red in the first time trial, 001 ran in the second time trial, and it was about 7 o'clock at night, beginning of July, and you know where the sun's at that time?
I would say it's right
Right
on
on
the
the
tree.
Christmas tree. I was 777 in the first round on the light. So I go. Another guy was 650, or another guy was 350. So nobody's seen the tree. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all the same. But I varied my RPM launch because you can't use the throttle stop and you can't use the delay box.
Right.
So I got a handle on that, and then I went to Hugo for the NHRA Open
Yeah.
and did okay there. It was great to get up there and see all my Canadian friends. It's always a treat to go up there.
Yeah. So,
And I do love the quarter mile. I'd much rather run the quarter mile throttle stop race than 8th mile, but that's get more time to think, I guess.
yeah, I will say we've had this discussion before. I mean, I know me, you, and Vince Gregory are, well, and John Pelicane too. John, I know, feels the same way. He doesn't race with us anymore, but I mean, we all love. Tommy Allen loves another guy. Love quarter mile racing. Would prefer to race quarter mile, but we're definitely in the minority these days.
Yep.
But it is what it is. Well, if you tell me I got to race 8th mile rather than not race at all, well, then I'll race 8th mile. If I have to race 60 foot, I'll race 60 foot, I guess.
Right. I guess the difference between racing quarter mile and 8th mile is quarter mile, you can maybe hold some numbers. 8th mile, you almost have to have an honest run, and there's not too much time to play around.
So I don't know if you had heard this or not, Kirk. So last weekend when I was out at Empire Bracket Racing, mentioned the Gregories. So Matt Gregory pits right next to me. He's racing Art Jones's Monza. Goes up first round, and I don't know what the reaction times and dials are, but margin of loss for Matt in round 1 was 1/10,000th of a second. So he buys back.
This doesn't have a good ending.
In the buyback, his margin of defeat in the buyback was 9/10,000ths of a second. He lost 2 races by a combined 1/1000th. I'm like, oh my God. And I have to say, all you could do in a situation like that is get out and laugh. I mean, it's like, look, when it's not your day, it's not your day. This clearly was not my day. Yeah, 2 races, 1,000th of a second total. That is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I forgot what race I was watching. I think it might have been race that Billy Lieber did, and he had probably like a 3,000 package or something like that.
Yeah.
And he lost. I forgot who it was, but you lose to somebody that's got a better than a 3,000 package, give it to them. I mean,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
They earned it.
Yeah, and that's like you said. I mean, that's part of the problem with 8th mile racing is that the races are just so tight. That's one reason why I like the quarter mile better. But anyways, I like going faster. I like spending more time in my race car.
Yeah.
Just gonna send you some black shoe polish so you can keep the tires looking new.
I say my tires do they look brand new right now. I mean, they barely got like 12 runs on them, I think. I don't get out enough, and I don't make enough runs. I go out to the track and I make well, now at this point, I'm like this weekend Empire. I'm not crazy about the format, so it's only one time run, which I will say most weekends I wouldn't mind it. For a bigger dollar race like they have this weekend, it bugs me a little bit, I guess. But yeah, one time run. So if you've been a duck like I have, I get one time run. I lose first round. I buy back and lose. I make 3 passes in a weekend and go home. All my stuff stays pretty new when I'm only making 3 passes in a weekend, and I'm only doing it a couple times a month.
The sad part about that is people don't get to see the Phil Hardin show as much.
That's correct, exactly. But it's, I mean, it's still fun. I still enjoy it. Just like I said, we'll make do with what we got. And like I said, if we have to race 8th mile, we'll race 8th mile. And I need to, for me personally, I came away from my race last weekend. I did all right last weekend, but I came away saying that I need to start pushing the tree a little bit more and just take some time out of the delay box is really what it gets down to. That, an eighth mile racing, a 20 light is just not going to cut it.
Yep.
You got to be a 10. Otherwise, you're really opening yourself up to lose for
Yeah,
sure.
anybody that doesn't know between running full tree and pro tree, I mean, it's really the same, but it's different. One, you step on the gas, let go of the button. The other, you let go of the button and step on the gas. I mean,
Right.
it sounds simple, right, Jay?
Yeah, no, it's taken me, well, almost the entire season here to get to a point where I'm now comfortable behind the wheel. Eh, Even though it's, like I said, it's very similar, it's just a slightly different procedure. But yeah, now I'm getting back to the point. Of course, now what's going to happen is we're going to go to this pro tree race, and I'm going to be an absolute horror show out there because the I'm gonna stage. I'm gonna be waiting to get up on the RPM. The tree's gonna be on. I'm gonna be like, oh no, letting go of the button.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think you jump right back in the saddle.
We'll see. Well, I got my fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to doing some pro tree racing here in a couple of weeks with you. So September
Yeah.
17th, Empire, Saturday, 9 a.m. gates open.
Mhm.
Time runs most likely start at 10:30. We'll have two qualifiers, I'm assuming, right?
As far as I know, that's correct.
Okay. And be on a ladder,
You
right?
only get one.
We'll be on a ladder.
Yeah, that's what I got to work out yet. I've never done the ladder system before, so talking to a few people, they're going to give me a hand doing the ladder. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I can help you with the ladder. So on a ladder, qualifying number one qualifier. We're definitely announcing it here. Number one qualifier is going to get the right angle grinder from Dynabrade.
correct.
Okay.
Unless Pete Maduri wins it, then we're not. We'll see what he wants to do with it.
That'll be number two qualifier, maybe.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll flip flop that with who's already got the best package. See where that goes.
Right, right. But yeah, more than likely $100. You said $100 bonus to best package in eliminations.
Yep.
So $100 to
Are,
enter.
are,
So
are
you
you
get
going to
your
be up
entry
there
fee
on
back.
Friday night too, testing?
Yeah, yeah. Friday night, like I said, the super stock guys will be there Friday night, so we can go out Friday night and go test and stay
Yep.
overnight, have a couple
Those
of
guys are a bunch
cocktails,
of
enjoy
great.
ourselves,
Those are a
and
bunch of great guys, the stock and super stock guys too. It's great to hang out with those guys too.
they can be a fun bunch of people for sure.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. All right, well, before we let you go, Kirk, anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, that should do it. Just hope all the racers come out and support it, and hopefully, maybe it's just the start of something. I mean, I'm just one guy doing it. You know better than anybody else, Jay, that it's a tough thing to do. And I can't keep on going back to the wells the same time with all these guys that are sponsored. It's great of them to help, but yeah, maybe we'll get something going in next year and make it maybe a monthly thing.
Yeah, well, and I will say that one thing that's really important, and I think for the most part, the companies that you are naming have a very good following. It's important to support the sponsors that support us, right? So, yeah,
Right.
you need a transmission, give Joe Bonifero a call at Joe's Transmission. You're looking for some engine work, give Mike Janis at Jansen Motorsports a call. So, yeah, I don't remember all the sponsors you have, but there's a whole bunch of them, and we need to make sure that we're supporting those guys because without it, we wouldn't be able to get the kind of payouts that we're looking to do. We'd be out there racing for $300 to win.
Yeah. Now, getting back to your trailer, one thing where the racers got to realize too is get insurance on your trailer before you take it out, and also have it inspected. Because if you ever get in an accident, we talked to Eric about this before, and if you don't have it inspected and somebody runs into you, the insurance company might say, it wasn't supposed to be on the road, and that's a lot of money to shoot down the drain for an inspection sticker.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to recommend that you have it insured before you loan it to some jerk too.
Yep.
I know it. I know what happens firsthand when you don't have it insured and you loan it to a jerk.
Yep.
So, All right. Well, Kirk, hey, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. I won't see you next weekend. I'll be out in California, but I will see you September 17th out at Empire. Maybe the 16th testing.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks, Kirk.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Yep.
I know we've had Kirk on the show before. I don't know how long ago it was. Do you remember his car, the Slapshot Pinto?
It rang a bell when you mentioned it,
Yeah.
but I don't.
I'm just looking. It's like episode 101, which is again still kind of crazy to me. But it's like it's very possible that Kirk might have been on the show when the first like 15
Yeah.
episodes. I'm not sure. It's been a while since we've had him on the show. He's a great guy though. I know that I mean, like myself and Phil, he loves the pro tree race. He's been bugging me all summer about doing a pro tree race, and I'm glad that he was able to put something together. At least one race this year, and maybe this will stick the needle in for him, and that he wants to run a series next year, so we can all go back to pro tree racing next year. We'll see.
Do you know how many episodes Crash Course has now?
So I sort of do.
Oh.
I want to say it was in the 400s.
413 was last
Okay.
Monday, last
Yeah.
Tuesday, whatever day we did.
Yeah, I knew it was over 400, which again,
a lot.
yeah, oh, that is a lot. Yeah. But I will say, you guys have not that we don't have a good following, but you guys have a really great following with the show, and you're really diligent about being on. Is it every week that you guys are on?
Yeah.
Which 400, I don't know, 400 weeks, was that 8 years?
Yeah, actually, I did the math on it. When we hit our 8-year anniversary in September, we'll be, if we're on every week up until that point, our count is only going to be off by like 52 or so.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
But that breaks down to five missed Mondays a year since we started. So you look at Christmas, New Year's, the day after the Bash for Cash, the day after Blizzard Bash, and Labor Day. I can account for the 5 weeks that we would
Yeah, that's
generally
crazy.
miss. And I know our schedule's been jumbled a little bit the last couple of years, but with summer sports and fall sports and stuff like that. But still, we've been able to keep that pace up. That, and we've had a lot of stuff. It was just really cool to hit that number. 413 was always one of my favorite engines anyway. So.
Well, I would say, well, pretty much it'll be right around the end of 2023, right? That's when you'll be approaching 500.
Yeah. Yep. You
So-
just figure add 52, and that'll put us up in the probably up close to 470 by the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got to be, I mean, you're going to plan anything big, you got to do something special for 500 episodes, for God's sakes.
Right. And I would like to be able to do something for 10 years too.
Yeah, that'd be
10
cool.
Years, 10
Yep.
years is coming up, but honestly, as corny as it sounds, I don't have the time to go back through it and find all the highlights and stuff. Everything's on YouTube. I don't want to go through and have to do that. You know why? Because then we'll hear about who's feeling it.
Oh, right. Well, yeah.
And I don't want to have number 500 be something that's marred in some way,
I think the thing to do for 500, I guess I will say, is I don't know how many co-hosts you've had, but, maybe try and have a crash course reunion where you get, the entire team back together sitting in the studio like this, right? And
We've tried to do stuff like that. Yep.
And it's like, if you plan it enough in advance, I mean, obviously someone still might have some type of, work thing come up where they can't do it, but something like that would be cool. Or
What I might do is in the past we've had an open call.
yeah,
Call my cell phone. If you
Yeah.
want to be on the show, call and tell me what's on your mind.
sure.
And that was fun. One time we did that on the 31st lap, and the caller came in and we missed like 12 other calls because we couldn't get him off the phone. But
I would say it's funny. I was watching last week tonight with John Oliver. I think it was last night we were watching it, and they always do these segue breaks. They're only like 30 seconds kind of between their main stories, and they did this thing And the announcer's like, and now we're going to go to, the most popular caller on C-SPAN, Will from Peoria, Illinois. And sure enough, this guy calls in like all the time to C-SPAN, right?
Yeah.
And they get it to the point where the hosts of on C-SPAN are telling them, it's like, okay, just so you know, it's one call per month, Will. And it's like, man, it's like that guy watches a lot of C-SPAN that they were able to actually put together a montage of Will calling into
Really?
C-SPAN, right? I would say for us it would be Jeff Jackson. He'd be the guy that he's kind of our we have like 2.5 hosts for the show with me, you, and Jeff Jackson. So
When this show hits 200, do it on Jason's retirement day.
I would say it took us 5 years.
Yeah, it took a little while.
So now we're only supposed to be every other week, but
Right.
obviously we took a big break here. I mean, it's been at least 6 months, 8 months since we've done probably, well, now it's September. It's probably been 8 months since we've done a show.
Because I think 100 was in January.
That makes sense. I would say, yeah, that probably makes sense. But
Then you decided to go to work and you fell off the face of the earth.
yeah, and tried to disown my
Do
friend
you still
Chris.
have any? Do you still have any friends?
No, not
I mean,
really.
before that job.
Yeah, no, not really. Yeah, the only quote unquote friend that I have is Billy Lieber, and me and him we just trade texts and how miserable we are and how everything is so terrible. And
Hey, where did speaking of Billy Lieber,
yeah,
where did I see pictures of the missile? Did you see that was being displayed someplace?
Oh, it was so Joe Pappas. Well, I guess it depends on the missile. So there's a couple different missiles. Joe.
That was the next part of the question was which one was it?
Yeah, so I don't know for sure because the 7071 car, so what's actually the 70 Challenger right now is painted. Yes, it's painted as the 71 car. That car, along with the Wire car, is owned by Arnie Clan, and Joe Pappas he keeps them at his house in Michigan, and then in the summertime, Joe takes them, at least the 72 car, or the 71 car generally, to various shows around, the Mopar Nationals and stuff like that. But the 72 car, the CUDA, so Mark Williamson, and I can't remember the other guy's name that are partners in that car, they do the same thing. They take, now that the car has been restored, they take it around and show it places, typically more down south.
Did Joe have anything to do with the restoration on that car?
I will say Joe, I'm sure helped out a little bit, probably trying to source parts and giving some little pieces of information, stuff like that. But
Right.
Joe didn't have a ton to do with that. Joe was really more involved in the 71 car and the Wire car restorations.
Are those the only ones?
So the other one is the 73 car. The 73 car is the Mopar missile.
Right.
That, I don't remember the guy's name. I should know it.
Well,
I've met him.
We talked to somebody that was either had found or was trying to finish one of the restorations. Was that the 72 car or was that the 73 car?
That was probably, no, that had to be the 72 car. Because, the 73 car, that has been around. It's not really restored back to original. It's still painted like the Mopar missile.
Yeah.
But, oh, God, I just had the guy's name on the tip of my tongue.
Sorry.
But anyways, so a guy down in Florida owns it. Pretty sure his first name is Larry. And it was in the Garlitz Museum for a long time.
Oh, really?
He just consigned it there for a long time. And then now he actually races the Nostalgia Pro Stock series with it.
Oh, yeah?
So, I mean, whatever. It's out there.
It's his.
It's his. He can do what he wants with it. So, yeah, so that's all the cars essentially that are accounted. I mean, they're all accounted for at this point and all in decent shape. Now, the 72 car was the one that we found in Ottawa at Mark Williamson's house that was in terrible, terrible condition up until it was restored 5 years ago. But it's unbelievable. I never would have thought they could have restored it to where
You said, to go down the rabbit hole, you said the 70 car
yeah.
is painted like the 71 car.
So the 70, let's call it the 71 car.
Yeah.
Both, so Motown Missile, Motown Missile, Motown Missile, 70, 71, 72, 73, it goes to the Mopar. So 70 and 71, it was the same car, a 70 Challenger. The only difference is they painted it different between 70 and 71. In 70, it had silver leaf and said Motown Missile down the side, and the font was kind of a squiggly font. And then in 71, the car was still black, but kind of had a mustard yellow stripe down the side with Mopar Missile kind of inverse in that yellow stripe. So that's how it's
But it
painted.
was the same car.
Same car. Yep. Yeah. And that's how it's painted now is like the 71 car.
Yeah, it's the more recognizable one.
It's definitely the more recognizable of the two paint jobs. Granted, I'm not partial because my uncle drove the 70 car, so it has 70 car has my uncle's name above the driver door. But I have to say that I still, even if that wasn't the case, I liked the way that the 70 car looked better than the 71. I liked the silver leaf more than I liked the mustard yellow.
Yeah.
But the 71 car was definitely more successful than the 70 car was. So, yeah, that's why people recognize it more. But yeah, I think in general, if you were going to ask people though of the Motown missiles, which one is their favorite, the 72, basically the all black Cuda is really the most iconic of the three, and that's the one that people really like the most.
Scott, the guy that I work with at the school, his dad's Super Bee is on consignment in Saratoga.
Oh,
Yeah, it's at one of the classic car museums
Oh,
up in
cool.
Saratoga. He sold his Duster. He doesn't have the Demon anymore, but that car, like when you start leafing through magazines and you see the Super Bees and it's got the red line tires
Yeah,
and the
yep,
black rims and
yep.
stuff, that's the car that was in the back of the garage. It's blue instead of being green. but
right.
It's just a cool car. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think it's ever been driven on the road.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
that's
Dad's
super
car.
cool.
Yeah, it was. I was really happy for him.
I would say I don't know why I thought of this, but another piece of news that you probably didn't hear was that IHRA was sold.
I did come across that,
Okay.
and again, I went as far as it leaving this dead scroll. I think I should have asked Jason about that, and off it went.
So
it just flipped into nothingness. Oh, there goes.
I think the name of the corporation was IRG that owned IHRA, and they just sold it to Larry Jeffers. And Larry Jeffers is a chassis builder, and my understanding, I think, is he's down in the St. Louis area. So Larry Jeffers Race Cars builds a lot of pro mods and fast car type of stuff. Really, really, really nice pieces. So he bought it a few weeks ago. What I heard, and it's all rumor and conjecture essentially at this point, I think, but supposedly they're going to go and bring back all the class racing again. So IHRA is going to go from just a bracket series like it is now to they're going to bring back Super Gas, Super Comp, Super Stock, Pro Mod, Top Fuel. So we'll see. But if that's the case, that would be pretty darn cool because it would give people an opportunity to go racing, class racing, and not have to go race at NHRA tracks. And I'm guessing that a lot of the old IHRA tracks that had national events before would get them back. So Empire Nationals again, I'm thinking there's probably a good chance that could happen, especially with all the improvements that Jerry has put into the track.
Is that going to? I mean, that just seems like it's such a jump so fast to bring everything back at one time. Is that?
I mean,
Are you gonna make a video so that you get banned by the IHRA too?
well, they haven't made me mad yet. So I guess I'll try not to. We'll see. But yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know. Again, I don't know much of the details, but my understanding was that management at IHRA was trying to buy IHRA from the owners, from IRG. Then that went south. Then Larry Jeffers came in and bought it, and when he bought it, all of the basically employees of IHRA quit. So because they were mad about the deal not going through. So now, I mean, there was an email actually I just received today, I think it was, from Larry Jeffers saying, hey, just letting all you IHRA members know, we're going to have all of our employees at the bracket finals across the country and stuff like that. So don't worry, these races are going to go on, and we're going to have employees there to put the races on, but they're working now towards putting together their management staff for next year.
Wow.
Can they bring it back and kind of pick up where they left off? I mean, I think they probably could. I mean, there's obviously still stock and super gas, super comp racers out there, so that's not an issue.
There's still cars. Just because IHRA wasn't having that didn't mean that they just disappeared.
Right. Now, I guess, the question would be, from a pro mod standpoint, their pro mod rules were always a little bit different than NHRA's. I think you'd probably, for them to be successful with pro mod and top fuel, they would just have to adopt NHRA's rules, at least to start, to try and get people out there. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't end up with many cars. But top sportsman, again, I mean, Jeff's car, at this point, is really a top sportsman car. I mean, he could race top sportsman now. So, I think that's top sportsman and top dragster are very popular. So I think you'd have a pretty good following there as well. I think they could definitely do it. I'm really hopeful that that's what the plans are, but we'll see.
On the topic of selling stuff and old parts and all that other stuff, the Rogers family has agreed to sell Grandview.
Oh, really?
Did you see that?
No, I did not.
That Bruce Rogers built that track, and his wife still owns it, and Copart put a bid in to buy the track.
Yeah.
And I don't think Copart International Speedway is part of their plans. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
well, that's what happened with Englishtown, and
there's another one.
Who else? Yeah, there was another track that, basically was bought by Copart essentially just to store junk insurance cars at, right? So, well, hopefully, if they do sell it, they're
going to finish the year out, and then beyond that, they're going to release additional details. And I was there a couple times, but is what it is. I guess nothing gold can stay.
Yeah, I will say Echo is another one. Echo was rumored to.
I was thinking one of the tracks was in Connecticut that sold and ended up getting repurposed, but
I should know because there was.
Well, in terms of.
Oh, well, so Atlanta, I know NHRA sold Atlanta, and that's closed, but I think that's being developed into housing.
Yeah.
Houston Raceway Park, did that get? Yeah, I think that got sold as well. Now, what happened to Houston, I don't know. Maple Grove recently got sold, but that got sold to, oh God, another pro stock racer whose name eludes me at the moment. So he's running it as a drag strip, and so that Maple Grove looks like they're good for now. But yeah, there was questions regarding Echo about whether or not they were going to survive, but I'm pretty sure that Echo is still operating on a weekly basis at this point. So yeah, we got to keep Copart out of here. Here we are giving them free advertising.
Right.
All right. Well, what do you think?
I think we're good.
We got to go. I got to go see Alan and Kelsey.
Right. And Melissa doesn't have school tomorrow either, so you can say hi to her too. She probably won't be.
She won't be sleeping.
Won't
Okay.
be in
All right.
bed
Good.
yet, no. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one, episode number 101 in the books. We're going to try and get all the roll in and rollouts repaired so that we can get those back out there. But that's going to do it for us here on the final round at the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls. Thanks for watching.